Intro. You've probably heard of Stoicism before, the ancient philosophy that teaches control over our emotions, resilience in the face of adversity, and living in accordance with nature. But did you know that Stoicism can also help you understand the subtle signs of someone hiding their emotions, especially when it comes to romantic relationships? Imagine you're in a situation where a man is keeping his distance, but you can't help but feel that he's secretly thinking about you. The way he behaves, the glances he gives you, and even the way he responds to you may all reveal more than words can say. Today, we're diving into the 10 secret signs that a man may be hiding his feelings, but can't stop thinking about you, all through the lens of Stoic philosophy. These are the subtle, often overlooked behaviors that reveal his true emotions, even when he's trying to keep them under control. By the end of this piece, you'll have a clear understanding of how Stoicism helps decode these actions, giving you the knowledge to understand what's really going on in his heart and mind. But before we dive into the signs, let's first explore why some men might suppress their emotions in the first place. It's not always about playing games or being emotionally unavailable. In fact, much of it stems from the teachings of Stoic philosophy itself. Stoicism, at its core, teaches us to control our impulses and not let our emotions rule us. However, this can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Why do men hide their feelings? The reason men may hide their feelings often has to do with societal expectations and the Stoic principles they've internalized over time. Stoicism teaches the mastery of self-control, which can sometimes be misinterpreted as emotional suppression. Men traditionally are conditioned to show strength, composure, and rationality, and this conditioning can make expressing vulnerability, especially in romantic contexts, feel difficult or even unnatural. In Stoic philosophy, there is a strong emphasis on virtue, acting in accordance with reason, regardless of emotions. The idea is that our emotions should not dictate our behavior. Instead, we should respond to external events with a calm, rational mind. But in a world where emotional expression is often seen as a sign of weakness, this approach can make men seem distant. In fact, they might just be following Stoic teachings. At its core, Stoicism encourages an acceptance of what we cannot control and focuses on finding peace within ourselves rather than relying on others to create that peace. This might explain why a Stoic man would be inclined to hide his feelings. The fear of losing control over his emotions might be more intense than the desire to express them. Understanding this fundamental aspect of Stoic thinking can give you important insight into why he may seem emotionally unavailable or reserved. His feelings may run deep, but he's struggling to reconcile them with his desire to maintain control. Now that we've set the stage, let's look at how these Stoic principles manifest in real-life interactions. 10 signs. He's hiding his feelings, but can't stop thinking about you. 1. He remains calm. Even in intense situations, Stoics believe that the wise person remains unshaken by external events. If he's in a stressful or emotionally charged situation, like a heated argument or an intimate moment with you, he may keep his emotions in check. But the calmness isn't indifference, it's control. He's applying Stoic virtues in these moments, holding fast to the principle that no external event, no matter how emotional or overwhelming, should disturb his inner peace. If he seems unfazed by a difficult conversation or an emotional moment, it may feel like he's distant or detached. However, what you're actually seeing is a man who is consciously choosing to remain in control of his emotions. His feelings may be deep, but his Stoic philosophy guides him to suppress immediate reactions, allowing him to remain composed and thoughtful in his responses. How to interpret this sign? If you sense that he's keeping his emotions in check, it's likely that he is internally processing his feelings for you. Rather than being disinterested, he may be focused on not letting his emotions disrupt the calm he's striving to maintain. 3. He acts distant, yet shows interest in small details. Stoics maintain their inner tranquility by detaching from distractions, and this often includes emotional entanglements. But that doesn't mean they aren't paying attention. If he seems emotionally distant, but remembers every small thing you've said or done, it might be his way of quietly appreciating you. He's storing these moments in his mind, even if he won't openly express them. This behavior reflects a deliberate detachment in line with Stoic teachings. Men who follow Stoicism often prefer to process their feelings privately rather than share them impulsively. So, while he may appear distant, the fact that he remembers the tiniest details about you speaks volumes about his emotional engagement. How to interpret this sign? Take note of how often he brings up little things you've mentioned in passing. Does he remember your favorite song or a detail about your childhood? This is a sign that he's thinking about you more than he lets on. He's just not expressing it openly. At least not yet. 4. He tries to keep control in moments of vulnerability. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is maintaining composure in the face of vulnerability. If you notice that he avoids showing weakness or tries to mask his emotional reactions around you, it could be his way of adhering to this Stoic ideal. His feelings for you may be intense, but he is fighting the urge to let them disrupt his calm demeanor. Stoics hold that vulnerability is a source of strength, but they also believe in keeping one's emotions in balance. If he's trying to maintain control in emotionally charged moments, whether it's a confession of love or a situation that makes him feel exposed, it's likely because he wants to prevent his emotions from overwhelming him. How to interpret this sign? If he gets quiet or withdraws at 5, he deflects personal conversations but wants to know about you. At the same time, his deep interest in your thoughts and feelings indicates that he's emotionally invested in you, even if he's not willing to open up about his own. This sign points to a man who is trying to master his emotions, but is still deeply curious about yours. The Stoic principle here is that knowledge of others can help guide one's own path toward virtue and peace, which is why he might be probing you with questions, but avoiding the same level of introspection for himself. How to interpret this sign? He continually steers conversations away from himself and focuses on your thoughts, fears, and dreams. It's a clear indication that he's emotionally invested, even if he's not yet ready to share his own vulnerabilities. 6. He mentions philosophy or self-control. If he often talks about topics related to Stoicism, emotional control, or similar ideas, it might be a sign he's trying to understand his own feelings and impulses. He could be seeking ways to balance his emotions and thoughts, particularly when it comes to his feelings toward you. Many Stoic philosophers, such as Decode, teach that we are not defined by our emotions, but by how we respond to them. If he brings up these concepts frequently, it's possible he's wrestling with how to balance his feelings for you with his Stoic belief in emotional detachment. How to interpret this sign? His frequent references to self-control and Stoic ideas. 7. He responds thoughtfully but never quickly. In Stoicism, reacting without thinking is seen as a lack of control. If he takes his time to respond to your texts, calls, or questions, It might be because he's choosing his words carefully, ensuring that his emotions don't cloud his judgment. A slow response doesn't mean a lack of interest. It's just part of his methodical, stoic approach to relationships. How to interpret this sign? If his replies seem measured or delayed, it's likely because he wants to avoid impulsive or emotional responses. He's carefully choosing how to convey his thoughts without letting his feelings take control. 8. He avoids physical touch, yet seems to draw closer in other ways. A man influenced by Stoic ideals may avoid physical touch as a way to keep his emotions from becoming overwhelming. In Stoic philosophy, physical desires and emotional impulses are often seen as distractions that can cloud one's judgment and interfere with the pursuit of virtue. So, he's keeping his distance physically, it might be his way of maintaining control over his emotional responses. However, this doesn't necessarily mean he's uninterested in you. Instead, his emotional connection may be growing stronger, but he's choosing to express it in other ways. Stoicism teaches that true intimacy and connection are grounded in shared understanding, respect, and intellectual or emotional bonding, not just physical touch. So he might be trying to foster a deeper connection through conversation, meaningful eye contact, and other forms of emotional closeness that don't involve physical interaction. How to interpret this sign? He's not initiating physical touch, like holding your hand or giving you a hug, but you notice that he's making time for deep conversations or spending one-on-one moments with you. It's likely because he values the emotional connection more than the physical one. He's drawing closer to you in a way that aligns with Stoic principles of interconnection and intellectual bonding. 9. He handles conflict with calm and patience. In a world that often encourages immediate emotional reactions, Stoicism teaches the value of patience and rationality, particularly in moments of conflict. If he remains calm during an argument or when disagreements arise, it might not be because he doesn't care. It could be that he is following the Stoic principle of rational self-control. In the face of tension or emotional disagreements, a Stoic strives for a solution based on reason, not impulse. While others might get swept up in the heat of the moment, a man who embodies Stoic ideals will seek to understand the situation logically and act with patience. This doesn't mean he's emotionally disengaged. In fact, his ability to stay calm suggests that his feelings for you are so strong that he doesn't want to risk losing control over them. The Stoic approach teaches that emotional turbulence should not be allowed to disrupt one's peace, so he chooses to respond with patience and understanding rather than reacting in anger or frustration. How to interpret this sign? He is patient and composed during conflicts. It may be a sign that 7. He responds thoughtfully but never quickly. In Stoicism, reacting without thinking is seen as a lack of control. If he takes his time to respond to your texts, calls, or questions, it might be because he's choosing his words carefully, ensuring that his emotions don't cloud his judgment. A slow response doesn't mean a lack of interest. It's just part of his methodical, Stoic approach to relationships. How to interpret this sign? If his replies seem measured or delayed, it's likely because he wants to avoid impulsive or emotional responses. He's carefully choosing how to convey his thoughts without letting his feelings take control. 8. He avoids physical touch, yet seems to draw closer in other ways. A man influenced by Stoic ideals may avoid physical touch as a way to keep his emotions from becoming overwhelming. In Stoic philosophy, physical desires and emotional impulses are often seen as distractions that can cloud one's judgment and interfere with the pursuit of virtue. physically. It might be his way of maintaining control over his emotional responses. However, this doesn't necessarily mean he's uninterested in you. Instead, his emotional connection may be growing stronger, but he's choosing to express it in other ways. Stoicism teaches that true intimacy and connection are grounded in shared understanding, respect, and intellectual or emotional bonding, not just physical touch. So he might be trying to foster a deeper connection, conversation, meaningful eye contact, and other forms of emotional closeness that don't involve physical interaction. How to interpret this sign? If he's not initiating physical touch, like holding your hand or giving you a hug, but you notice that he's making time for deep conversations or spending one-on-one moments with you, it's likely because he values the emotional connection more than the physical one. He's drawing closer to you in a way that aligns with Stoic principles of inner connection and intellectual bonding. 9. He handles conflict with calm and patience. In a world that often encourages immediate emotional reactions, Stoicism teaches the value of patience and rationality, particularly in moments of conflict. If he remains calm during an argument or when disagreements arise, it might not be because he doesn't care. It could be that he is following a Stoic principle of rational self-control. In the face of tension or emotional disagreements, a Stoic strives for a solution based on reason, not impulse. While others might get swept up in the heat of the moment, a man who embodies Stoic ideals will seek to understand the situation logically and act with patience. This doesn't mean he's emotionally disengaged. In fact, his ability to stay calm suggests that his feelings for you are so strong that he doesn't want to risk losing control over them. The Stoic approach teaches that emotional turbulence should not be allowed to disrupt one's peace. He chooses to respond with patience and understanding rather than reacting in anger or frustration. How to interpret this sign? If he is patient and composed during conflicts, it may be a sign that he 10. He protects his independence, yet always makes time for you. Stoics highly value their independence, believing that inner peace and strength come from self-reliance and autonomy. If a man practices Stoicism, he may place a strong emphasis on maintaining his personal freedom and space. However, this doesn't mean he's not interested in you. On the contrary, it can indicate that he cares deeply about maintaining his sense of self while also nurturing a connection with you. By upholding Stoic values of autonomy and self-sufficiency, he is likely trying to balance his personal needs with his feelings for you. He may fear that too much closeness could compromise his freedom, but this doesn't stop him from prioritizing time with you, especially when the connection is meaningful. Stoics teach that relationships should not infringe upon one's personal growth, but rather should enhance and support it. If he is consistently making time for you, even though he values his independence, it's a sign that he's trying to integrate you into his life without compromising the Stoic virtue of self-sufficiency. His ability to give you space while also investing emotionally in the relationship reflects a healthy balance between his inner strength and his emotional investment in you. How to interpret this sign? If you see that he carefully manages his personal time and space, yet still makes a conscious effort to spend time with you, it may be a sign that he's not just physically attracted to you, but emotionally invested. He respects his own independence, but he sees value in sharing his life with you in a way that still respects both of your boundaries. 11. He struggles with expressing emotions, but his actions speak louder than words. A fundamental principle of Stoicism is the idea that actions speak louder than words. For a Stoic man, verbal expression of emotions may feel unnecessary or even contrary to his philosophy of emotional control. He might find it difficult to openly express how he feels, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Stoics are more focused on demonstrating virtue through actions rather than discussing their emotional states. If you notice that his behavior shows care and thoughtfulness, whether it's helping you with something, showing up for you when you need him, or supporting your goals, it could be a sign that his feelings for you run deep. Even if he doesn't verbally express them, his actions might tell you everything you need to know. In Stoic philosophy, the pursuit of virtue through deliberate, compassionate actions is considered the highest form of emotional expression. How to interpret this sign? Pay attention to what he does for you rather than what he says. If he's consistently there for you in meaningful ways, helping you solve problems or showing up for you in tough times, it's likely that his feelings are very strong, even if he doesn't express them with words. His actions are a clear reflection of his emotional commitment, even if he's not verbalizing it. 12. He talks about the future, but never specifically about you. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of living according to nature and focusing on what can be controlled. If a man talks about his future but rarely specifically mentions you, it might not be a sign that he's not interested. In fact, it could mean that he's focused on long-term goals and personal growth, which he believes are necessary before committing to a relationship. By not focusing on the immediate future with you, he might be following the Stoic principle of living in accordance with reason, which teaches that we should be focused on our own development before seeking to share our lives with others. For a Stoic man, the thought of a romantic relationship might be something he sees as evolving naturally over time. Once he feels that his own emotional and intellectual growth has reached a point of equilibrium. How to interpret this sign? If he talks about his aspirations, goals, and future plan, conclusion, navigating the complex emotional landscape of a man who practices Stoicism can be challenging, but understanding the core principles of Stoic philosophy offers valuable insight into his behavior. Stoicism teaches emotional control, rationality, and independence, all of which can sometimes make a man seem distant or detached, even when his feelings are intense. However, by learning to recognize the subtle signs, such as his calm demeanor, his actions over words, and his respect for your independence, you can decode what's really going on in his heart. The key takeaway is that Stoic men may not always express their emotions in ways that are immediately obvious, but that doesn't mean they don't care. Their feelings may run deep, but they are often hidden beneath a layer of self-control and rational thought. By understanding the Stoic principles that guide their actions, you can gain a deeper appreciation of their emotional world and see the signs that reveal their true feelings. They're not vocalizing them. By tuning into these subtle signals, you'll have a better chance of understanding his emotional landscape, even if he's not fully ready to share it with you.